Hi, it's Andy Bauer at Object Arts. In the previous video in this series, we got as far as creating our Lights Out game presenter, and we've done just about enough to be able to test it out. So we should now be able to go and give it a quick whirl. So let's right click on Lights Out game, choose View and Show, and there we go, we've got the board up. It's not showing the default background colour that we wanted. I think I know why that is. Let's just close that down. If we go back to our Lights Out cell presenter and edit the view that we created for that, we'll see that it's actually got a white background colour default for Windows. So what we need to do is to set that to nil, and we'll save it down again. And if we now go back to our Lights Out game, show it. Yeah, we've got the blue background. So we've got all our cells turned on and laid out quite nicely. Now what happens when we try and click one of these things? Nothing. So basically we need to intercept that cell action event that we triggered down in the view, and we need to make it do something. So let's go and do that. So going back to the create cell presenters, in here we want to, for each cell presenter that we create, we want to intercept its cell action method, cell action event. Now, if you remember, we triggered this off the presenter, so it should be triggered off this Lights Out cell object we've created. So we're going to make it perform a particular block. So what should we make it do? We'll make it create a new method called toggle neighbors. And so here what we're going to be doing is when the cell action event is triggered off this presenter, we're going to call toggle neighbors of and passing the presenter with it. So let's compile that, launch the game again. Okay, and now when we click on it, we get a walkback saying Lights Out game does not understand toggle neighbors of. Now we could just go back and define that normally, but in fact I'm going to show you something quite good here, where we can actually define new methods inside the debugger. It's quite a nice way of filling out a class. So if I press debug, and let's resize that, it's a little bit large. If I choose implement in our class Lights Out game, we actually get a skeleton method for us, proposed for us, and we can now go and fill that in. What should we do in here? So we basically want to go through and find the neighbours of the particular cell that's been passed to us, and ask it to toggle the value of each of the neighbours. So let's assume we're going to write a method called neighbours of, and for each of those we're going to toggle the value. Oops. Okay, accept that, and now we can run that. Once again we get a walk back saying we haven't defined neighbours of, so we can go and do that. Debug again, implement in Lights Out game, and so how are we going to work out what the neighbours of? Well, we can work it out by the which neighbours have rectangles which are adjacent to ours. So let's find out what our rectangle is. So CP rect and we'll ask the cell that we've been passed, ask its view for its rectangle, and then let's, from all our existing cell presenters, let's select the ones that are adjacent to that. And let's find the rectangle for each of those. So let's look for the right center of one, then you go for the left center of another, or okay, and hopefully that will be sufficient. So if we accept that method and ask it to run. So we've got our neighbours. Now we've been asked to specify what toggle does. So let's debug that and go and implement in lights out cell. And that's fairly straightforward, because what we do is we say self model value. Remember, this is in the cell, not in the board. Is self file that and let it run. And you see now the game is working. Okay, so let's do a few more interesting things here. Let's experiment with what we've got. If I create a workspace, okay, and then use the visual inspector to point at the lights out game that we've got on the screen, I can now drag out the reference to that lights out game into our workspace. Okay, and we can give it a name. Let's call it game. Okay, and so now we actually have in our workspace a variable called game, which points to that that game window we had before. Let's close the inspector, and we can do various things to it. So let's try and set the model of that game to a new board. So let's try and set it to a lights out board with size, say 5 instead of 10. Okay, let's evaluate that, and you'll see that nothing happens. Now the reason for this is that we only created our new cell presenters when the view was opened. What we also need to do is to call that create cell presenters method when the model is reassigned. So let's just go and make a modification to do that. I'm going to go back into the lights out game, and let's override the model colon method. Okay, we'll supersend that. And what we need to do is to only call our create cell presenters method if the view is currently open, because in the first time that model colon is called, the view will be closed, so it wouldn't work. So what we'll do is we'll test to see if the presenter has a view, and if that's true, we'll make it call create cell presenters. Okay, let's go back to our workspace and let's try that same task again. Okay, and now you see that the board has reset with our new model, and indeed that works as we might expect. Another thing we might want to do is create a new game board on the same model. So let's say game 2 is equal to lights out game show on the model of the one we just created. So if we evaluate that, we get another one operating on the same model. So you can see the two work in tandem. So I think now it might be nice to just do a few housekeeping things to tidy up what we've got. One of the things we can do is give an icon to our class for our game. So let's shut down these windows here. Now the easiest way to do that is to create a PNG file which represents the icon we want. What I did was to create do a screen capture and cut out of the game and cut out the bit of the game and paste it into a PNG file. Now we can load that into the Dolphin image using a little package that I wrote some time ago. If you're using an older version of Dolphin, 6.0 say, the package won't be installed in your image. So if you need to go and get it, go to the Object Arts website, go to the blog and find the blog entry Beauty with Less Beast, and that discusses how to actually use PNG files as icons, and it has a package which you can download and save that into your working directory as internal bitmaps and icons.pack. Okay, and now you can go and load that into your image using the package browser. Internal bitmaps and icons. And once you've done that, it gives you a few instructions here, but basically what we need to do to create an icon is to call the create icon method on the class. So if I bring up a workspace and we say lights out game, create icon method, and evaluate that, then we can actually get the opportunity to go and find our PNG file, and I've saved it down on my desktop as lightsoutgame.png. I've loaded that. If we now go and take a look, close the workspace to take a look at our class, you see it's got a nice little icon there. So let's try and install that into the samples applications folder that we've done before. And the way to do that is to create an initialize method on the class side. And with that we're going to say Smalltalk development system add sample folders icon for self and give it a description of lights out game. I'll just take a copy of that. Okay, and we can actually go and install that now by typing Control E here. We go and look in the sample folders. We now have the icon. We need to create an uninitialized method and accept that. Okay, so that's got us our icon into the system folder, samples folder. If I double click it, you see that the game launches and works as we might expect. So that's about wraps it up for the Lights Out game. I hope you found it educational, and I'll see you again next time.